Here is how I spend my time researching a company to help me better prepare myself for an interview. You want to stick to the end because I'll be asking you some SOC related scenario questions, which hopefully will get your mind running. Usually, there is at least 2 rounds of interviews, and in some extreme cases, I've seen up to 5. But at the end of the day, you will get at least 2. The first round of interviews is with HR. They want to make sure that you are indeed a human being and that you actually qualify for the role. The second round of interviews is usually with the hiring manager. Their main objective is to see if you can vibe with the culture. In other words, can you fit in with the team? And secondly, gauge your experience. Interviews, just like anything else, you must practice to get good at it. Now, there is one thing that people tend not to invest a lot of time into, unfortunately, and that is research. Researching a company will not only provide you with the benefit of understanding what the company values are or mission, but it will also allow you to come up with better questions. For those that had interviews, I hope you had asked questions at the end.
Do you have any questions for me?
No.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong, asking generic questions at the end that is related to the role is better than nothing. But researching the company and coming up with specific related questions about the company will provide you with a much better experience. Believe me. One important thing to note though before you start researching a company is make sure you research the actual company that is hiring you and not the recruiter company, because that will be a very awkward conversation. There are times when the hiring company does not actually post their job description and instead they go through a recruiter. Now, when that happens and you do get an interview with the recruiter, they will typically let you know who the company is, and that is when you do your research. Before we jump into how do we research a company, I wanted to let you know that I provided a link down below where you can go download a list of interview questions. These questions will contain various sections like generic, behavioral, high-level, technical, and scenario-based questions that a hiring manager might ask. This is for free to help you prepare for the next interview. And at the bottom, it will have a link as well for free mentorship, other products such as resume and cover letter templates, along with a roadmap on how you can get started in cybersecurity in 1 year. The goal here is to help you get to where you want to be. The first step in obtaining more information about a company is actually in the job description. Wait, what? Job description? The job description tells you a lot about a company, but some of you are guilty for just applying for the role and good job. That's not enough. Let's take a look at one example. So I'm on Indeed.com and I found a role called Security Operations Center Analyst from a company called Admiral Insurance. So right off the bat, no idea what this company does. All I know is that I am trying to apply for a SOC Analyst role. Let's take a look. From their job description, we immediately see the benefits section, which is nice. It shows you what you could expect and, oh, paid time off and work from home. Sweet. Don't you dare ask,
Can I work from home?
There is a caveat though. It specifically mentions vacancy is a remote role intended for Nova Scotia residents. And yes, that does mean do not apply to this role if you do not live in Nova Scotia. The next is about the company itself, Admiral Tech. It appears that this company has a branch from their main company, which was Admiral Insurance, and they comprise with over 600 people, which is quite a bit. And I'm curious to know how or what they use to secure all 600 people. How do they keep track of shadow IT? Maybe that is a question to ask at the end of an interview. Let's take a look at Admiral Canada. It appears that Admiral is an insurance and financial service provider. Perfect. Let's keep this in mind. We now know their industry. They offer loans, insurance, and other products to over, 9.1 million customers. Wow, that sounds like a lot of PII data. personal identifiable information. They need to have some sort of DLP solution, their data loss protection, because if you're handling sensitive information like that, you cannot afford that information to be leaked. Otherwise, it's a fun day. In 2022, Admiral Tech was brought to Canada. Wow, so that's quite recent. Out of curiosity, for my own sake, or something I could ask at the end would be something like, what were some of the technical challenges that Admiral Tech had faced when they were brought in to Canada? Although not directly researching a company, the job role section can provide you with a lot of information about their tech stack, right? Because that is something that you might likely be working on or working with. And another benefit for those that take the time to read the job description can actually craft up some questions that a hiring manager might ask. Let me demonstrate. On to the job role. This is part of their security operations function. So it's likely an in-house SOC. I mean, with 9.1 million customers, likely they'll be able to afford an in-house SOC. As a SOC analyst, you will respond to and investigate security events. Okay, that is perfectly normal. And there you go. Triage cases generated on Admiral's DLP platform. Good, they have DLP. Conduct threat hunting. Stay up to date on the changing threat landscape. If you haven't seen my video on how to stay updated, I encourage you to check that out. A lot of engaging with various team members. Experience in triage on a SIM such as Sentinel and others. Maybe they use one of these solutions, so it's best to have some hands-on experience with any of these. Understanding of frameworks. This is important. In fact, I am releasing a mini SOC course here on YouTube for free where I'll go over what a SOC is and I'll talk about these frameworks. But in the meantime, I do recommend you research what these frameworks are. For example, MITRE ATT&CK and the kill chain. Because understanding these frameworks going forward will help you in your cybersecurity career. Taking a look at their desirable skills are experience with SOAR and cloud environments. By reading these requirements, I generated some questions that a hiring manager might ask, and this is an exercise that you could do as well. We'll start with a generic question. Can you walk me through the kill chain and or MITRE ATT&CK, and why are these important? Second one would be, how do you stay up to date in this field? Another, what is the difference between an EDR and antivirus? Lastly, what is the purpose of a SIM? We move on to behavioral questions. Tell me a time when you had to work with a difficult team member. Discuss a time when you had to communicate complex technical information to a non-technical audience. And lastly, scenario questions. Because Admiral is an insurance and financial service provider that likely handles a lot of sensitive information, be prepared for a sensitive PII data leakage question. For example, you receive an alert about potential sensitive PII exposure. How would you investigate it? Secondly, an EDR alert reports a ransomware binary had been blocked. What are your next steps? And lastly, finance reports a phishing email and asks you if it's legitimate. What do you do? If you want more of these scenario questions, again, link down below, you can go ahead and download them. The second step to obtain more information about a company is their company website. Since it appears that Admiral has a lot of branches, we'll focus on Admiral Tech as that appears to be where the SOC will reside. We'll head straight to their About page and we'll go into their story. Best place to work in UK. That's cool. Created a work environment where people share ideas. You might get asked about innovation. Oh, second paragraph. Based on innovation and organic growth, as a hiring manager, I would probably ask you if you built anything recently. This could be a lab, script, tool, or anything. Oh wow, over 11,000 colleagues. This is a huge company. Typically, the more people you have, the more risk you have. Just makes sense. I am very interested to know how large their SOC team is because I could imagine over 11,000 people can generate a ton of alerts. And if their tuning processes are not that great, without making the video too long, all you need to do next is rinse and repeat, obtain a lot of that information, and start crafting some questions related to the company. Now, if you recall in the beginning, before I went through the entire job description, I mentioned I had no idea who Admiral is. After going through all that material, I can safely say that Admiral is an insurance and financial service provider located in the UK. It is one of the best places to work in the UK, in fact. They also have over 11,000 colleagues, which is crazy, by the way. And they have multiple branches, including Admiral Tech, who relocated, or not relocated, but bringing their services into Canada itself. And they started this move back in 2022. And lastly, they are huge on innovation. Now that I know more information about Admiral, I can start asking specific questions related to the company. Some of the examples are the following. What were some of the technical challenges that Admiral Tech faced when it was brought into Canada back in 2022? With over 11,000 users, how large is your SOC team and how do you keep track of shadow IT? Do you have an asset list containing crown jewels? And if you do, how often is it updated? How often do alerts get tuned? As I could imagine, 11,000 users can bombard a SOC quite easily. Is there a written documentation and process to engage with different departments such as DFIR or CTI? Those are just some of the examples that you can craft up after understanding more about the company. Trust me when I say this, the next time you are lined up for another interview, do your due diligence and research the company, because that will allow you to practice and come up with potential questions, and it'll put you in a good spot. As promised, here are some SOC related scenario questions from my interview guide that you can again download below. You're asked to investigate an impossible travel alert. You have all the logs and tools available to you. Walk me through from start to finish on what you will do. The second one, it is 3 a.m. and you receive 3 severity 1 alerts. One is an IDS Cobalt Strike alert. One is a sensitive account login from China. And another is Mimikatz blocked. And they all have 30-minute SLA. Which one do you take first and why? Last one, you accidentally clicked on a malicious link while you were investigating it. What do you do? Feel free to leave your answer down in the comment section below, or you can DM or email me directly and I can give you some feedback from there. If you stay till the end, let me know by adding a heart emoji. In the future, I'll be doing a giveaway and only those with a heart emoji will be entered. But shh, this is a secret between you and I. That is it for the video, and I hope you found it informative. If you did, let me know by hitting that like button and subscribe if you want to. Remember to stay curious and do things differently.